Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm back to ask a question which we've kind of asked before, but is much more relevant now. Is it worth investing in Brilliant Stars? Is it worth collecting in Brilliant Stars? Or should we focus a little bit more on some of the other recent sets? Because we did this before a couple of months ago. We compared Brilliant Stars to Fusion Strike and Celebrations. But the problem was, at the time, we had an idea of what Brilliant Stars would be, but we didn't really have a full grasp on exactly what it was. We didn't have a full look at the set like we do now. But you need to bear in mind that Evolving Skies has been really the standard up till now. And honestly, Celebrations is not an easy set to find nowadays. It's still out there, don't get me wrong, but that set is very much waning, so we're not going to focus on Celebrations today. We're going to be looking at Evolving Skies, Fusion Strike, and Brilliant Stars, and asking whether we should be investing in Brilliant Stars, or whether we should be focusing on some of the previous sets. One thing that is really important to note: don't buy singles now. Do not buy singles of Brilliant Stars now. I did that video the other day. We don't need to get too far into it, but not now, alright? Just give it a minute. And we might as well start with Brilliant Stars, because Brilliant Stars is, it's brilliant by name, brilliant by nature. Brilliant Stars is, and I'm going to spoil the surprise a little bit at the beginning of the video, it is a phenomenal set. A genuinely over-the-top, awesome, phenomenal set. And it's a phenomenal set in, every way. If we want to focus on collecting, there are some good collector's goals. We might be missing a bunch of the character rares and character super rares, but we've still got character rares like that Alchemy. Unfortunately, we only have a scan of it in French at the moment, sorry about that. And we've got those character super rares, things like Sylveon, for instance. That's out there. But then we've also got full art supporters, things like Gloria, and Ace Roller, and Cynthia, all of whom are extremely popular characters and are likely to lead to very sought after cards. And sure, we only have 2 of the 8 gold cards, and that's very disappointing, but we do have 2 of the 8 gold cards. We still do have those gold cards of Single Strike and Rapid Strike Urshifu. And sure, it would be lovely if we could have all of them, but we still have those 2 gold cards, and they're pretty phenomenal. So from a collector's standpoint, it's nuts. Not to mention, of course, we've got really sought after popular Pokemon like the aforementioned Sylveon, like Mimikyu, like Umbreon. These are Pokemon which are really top tier in terms of popularity, and they're coming in here as well. And I really do need to point out that because the Trainer Gallery subset, it is worth pointing out the character rares, character super rares, some of the full art supporters, not all of them confusingly, and the gold cards, they are actually in the Trainer Gallery subset, which takes up the reverse holo slot of your pack, not the holo slot. So you can get ridiculous things, like in my opening I did the other day, I pulled a gold Single Strike Urshifu V Max from the same pack as a full art Shaman V, which is ludicrous. I'm not complaining, not even a little bit. But you can get packs like that. And getting packs like that, I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 2 of them in my opening. Go check it out. I think it's a good idea. And these kind of things are out there. They're wonderful, and I love them, and they're brilliant. And this is one reason to get super excited about Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars is, from a collector's standpoint, a phenomenal set, because you've got all of the regular stuff. The gold birds. The gold Galarian birds are in this set. They're not in the Trainer Gallery subset, they're just in the set normal. Up till now, I've basically been talking about the Trainer Gallery subset, but we've got things like that alternate art Charizard, that gold Arceus card. Really, really good cards. And then you've got that Trainer Gallery subset on top of it. It all adds up to just an over-the-top, brilliant, redonkulous set. The kind of thing that I think people are going to be excited about. And I haven't even mentioned the Rainbow Rare Charizard V-Star at this stage, and honestly, I probably should have done, because it's a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to get excited about. But then, in terms of playability, it's a phenomenal set as well. You've got super important cards like Manaphy, which has bench barrier to protect your bench. That is something which we have been crying out for in the competitive community. That's coming back. That's kind of awesome. We've got the return of Ultra Ball, which instantly becomes one of the very best Pokemon draw cards in the entire game. We've got things like Entei and Raikou, who are literally just Suicune, but with different retreat costs. I mean, they're different types, and the retreat cost and HP are slightly different. But other than that, they're basically the same cards, just in different typings, which is clearly a really good thing. They're in the set. That's kind of cool. And, we haven't even mentioned Luminion yet, coming in with Tapu Lele's ability, allowing you to go and search yourself a supporter card. And as some people have pointed out, and completely fairly, yeah, fine. Tapu Lele was around originally when you could play a supporter card turn 1 going first, which obviously made Tapu Lele better, but let's not pretend that Luminion isn't going to be a phenomenal card anyway, because it absolutely is. And I could even mention that Arceus V-Star looks like an absolute top-tier card, or that Double Turbo Energy is going to make a whole bunch of decks viable that weren't before. It is an absolutely flat-out, over-the-top phenomenal set in terms of playability, and in terms of collectability. It is kind of great. And honestly, I think if we put it side by side with Fusion Strike, I don't think Fusion Strike can really stand up to it. I bought less Fusion Strike than I probably would have done, so that I could buy a bit more Brilliant Stars, and I'm feeling really good about that decision. And it's not because I think Fusion Strike is a bad set. I don't. I actually think Fusion Strike is a very cool set, and I think a lot of people are underrating it. The problem is, Fusion Strike is, well, there have been 9 Sword and Shield sets so far. And I think it's pretty clear, at least as far as I'm concerned, that the best sets we've had in the Sword and Shield era have been sets 7 and 9. And Fusion Strike is set 8. So I don't think Fusion Strike is a bad set, but I do think it's a little bit unfairly maligned because of the fact that it comes in sandwiched between 2 absolute monster sets. It still introduced us to one of the very, very best decks in the game, that being Mew VMAX with Genesect. That's pretty gosh darn good. And it's still got some really nice alternate art cards. Some very nice alternate art cards. Things like Mew VMAX, Gengar VMAX, Espeon VMAX. Okay, they're 3 of the 4 VMAXs, but they're good, ladies and gentlemen. They are really good VMAXs. And then, of course, we've got Shauna, and everybody likes Shauna, and Elisa. But certainly in terms of supporter cards, it cannot hold a candle to the characters that we're seeing in Brilliant Stars, not in terms of popularity, and I don't think that's a controversial statement. And in terms of the alternate arts, we've got some good Pokemon in there, but I don't think it's challenging in terms of, well, look, you've got 3 good ones, but in the other set, we've got those character super rares, and we've got a Charizard and Arceus and all of that. And then in this set, we've just got those 3 VMAXs. And there really isn't that much in terms of alternate arts after it. I'm personally a huge fan of the Greedent, and I like the Genesect, but they're not really money cards in that regard. So unfortunately, it does seem to fall down a little bit in that regard, both in terms of Pokemon, in terms of supporters, and there's not really much in terms of gold cards. You've got Flaffy, and that's about it. It's really not super top tier in that regard. And in terms of playability, like I say, it's brought us the best deck around, which is clearly a good thing playability-wise. And there's some other stuff there. Gengar is certainly proving to be a very good deck, very playable deck. People are liking that one. But it's not on the same level as something like a Brilliant Stars. Now, it might end up proving to be, but certainly as it stands at the moment, it just doesn't look like it. So I do unfortunately think it's fair to say that Fusion Strike comes in as the weakest of them. And I don't think Fusion Strike is a bad set. I do think that bears repeating. But I honestly don't think it is nearly as good as either the set that preceded or the set that followed. And that's not to mention that it also came out just a month after Celebrations, and I think Fusion Strike is always going to be an underrated set for that reason. So then we come to Evolving Skies, and we ask the question, I think fairly, Brilliant Stars or Evolving Skies? Because Evolving Skies is kind of settled at that point now where it's not terribly expensive. I went through booster box prices the other day. Evolving Skies is out there, it's not silly, it's cheap enough, we're looking quite nice. Evolving Skies has been out for a while, we know what the deal is, and basically Evolving Skies is aging very, very nicely indeed. And honestly, right, you could look at it and go, ooh, we've got Rayquaza in there, and that's very cool. But honestly, it's the evolutions. Not only do we have the evolutions, many of which are playable, we'll get to that in a minute, but we've got all the alternate art. You know, in the VMAXs, you've got Umbreon, you've got Sylveon, you've got Leafeon, you've got Glaceon. Okay, fine, it's only the 4. One of them got pushed into Fusion Strike, that's Espeon. And then the Gen 1 has got pushed as promos. But you've still got 4 alternate art EV VMAXs, which is already, just with those 4, more than the alternate arts we saw in Fusion Strike that I think are really super noteworthy. And then, of course, you've got all the Vs as well, including Espeon, and then the super popular ones like Sylveon and Umbreon. And it is starting to get really, well, good, I think is a way to put it, ladies and gentlemen. Really rather good. It really is not a set that needed Rayquaza. This is not a set that needed Rayquaza to be a super good competitive set. And yeah, it ended up getting it anyway because I don't know, it just did. And that is always going to set Evolving Skies apart. Just the evolutions. Again, in terms of gold cards, there's the Inteleon, which is super playable. Nothing hugely special like that. And certainly in terms of supporters, I mean, Raihan, maybe. Zinnia. It's not a good set for supporters like that, but nobody cares because it's got the EVs. And then in terms of playabilities, Leafeon has proven to be a very good deck. And Suicune, along with Ludicolo, has proven to be one of the best decks in the format. That's proven to be an absolute powerhouse. Jolteon has proven to be a top-tier deck, a really, really strong deck. Sylveon has proven to be a very, very good deck. Medicham is a ridiculous tech card. Umbreon's got that gusting that everybody loves. Rayquaza still isn't good, and that makes me sad. I'm sure it will be one day. Duraludon's turned out to be a really very good deck. There were a lot, and there was nothing on the level of Genesect Mew, don't get me wrong. But Evolving Skies was absolutely full of VMAXs especially that turned into really good decks. And I still think Evolving Skies is a super strong set, a super good call, and I do think that, you know, collecting and investing in Evolving Skies is a very good idea because, you know, years down the line, it's still going to have all the evolutions in. And that's amazing. But I come back to Brilliant Stars, and I still think Brilliant Stars wins. I mean, just in terms of Charizard, we've got the V, the alternate art V, the Rainbow Rare V-Star, just in terms of the chase ones, not including the regular ones. And then you've got all the character rares, the character super rares, the gold Galarian birds, the gold Arceus. You've got Sylveon cards, you've got Umbreon cards. In terms of supporters and popular characters, it is so much more popular than what we saw from other sets. It really is ridiculous. I don't even think I particularly mentioned Marnie yet, strangely. It is absolutely full of ridiculous cards. And because you've got that trainer gallery subset, and you've got the possibility for double hit packs, this just makes everything so much cooler. So, I do think that when it comes down to it, Brilliant Stars wins. And I do think Evolving Skies is a great set, and I do think Fusion Strike is a pretty clear third place, unfortunately. But if you're asking me to sit down and rank these sets and which one is most deserving of your money, it's Brilliant Stars. And I say that as somebody who's going to spend more on Brilliant Stars than I did on the others. Because of the Trainer Gallery subset, which I really, really hope they carry on in future sets, I really do think sets it apart. It's a good set without it. It is a great set with it. And because we know the battle region over in Japan is bringing in even more of these, like that phenomenal Starmie, it's absolutely fair to say that if Pokemon want to, and we don't know if they do, but if Pokemon want to, we could have this trainer gallery subset carrying on for set after set. We're missing full art supporters, we're missing gold cards, we are missing character rares, and there are still more coming. If Pokemon want to keep this carrying on, they absolutely can. That's what I think. I think it's brilliant stars. But I want to know what you think. Which of these sets do you think looks really, really good? Which one of these has captured your imagination? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.